Support the podcast trusted by higher ed leaders. Get early, ad-free access and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe for only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the EdUp Experience. And today we're going to explore some doctoral student-related stuff, is what I'd say. I'm your guest host today, Dr. Lori Shanderson, and I typically host EdUp on accreditation insights. But today I'm stepping over to the EdUp Experience side to speak to Tim Hurd, who is the founder of the Doctoral Student Writing Collective, which is a community-driven initiative designed to support doctoral students navigating the rigorous demands of academic writing. So welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So do me a favor and share the origin story of the Doctoral Student Writing Collective, and what inspired you to create this space.
Absolutely. So I am actually the co-founder of the Doctoral Student Writing Collective, along with my friend Dejanay Eskew, and she's a doctoral candidate, wrapping up actually this week at the University of Indiana, Indiana, Bloomington. And we ended up creating the organization January of last year. And the reasoning behind that was we would often have conversations with the years prior about our own doctoral experiences and just kind of how it was for us. And we were talking, and we were like, you know what, it would be good to just kind of have a space for other doctoral students, and especially doctoral students who've been historically marginalized and come from underrepresented communities, to kind of get together and just feel that support. There were some things that we talked about, some highlights of our own doctoral journeys that we mentioned, and there were some areas for improvement. And one of the things that we did based off of our multiple conversations was just put something together to be like, hey, we might think some folks might like this idea of coming together to get the writing done, especially once they finished their coursework. And as folks know who are, in this space, when you're earning your doctorate and you start working on your dissertation, it can be an isolating experience because you start to really lock in and start to develop that niche subject and become that expert in that specific subject or content matter. And that can be in isolating spaces. So for us, we were like, let's put together a space where folks can continue to work on that, but also be able to share out with other folks. So that was really the impetus behind developing a Doctoral Student Writing Collective with Dejanay.
I have to tell you, I'm shocked that there's not more of this going on. I mean, I earned my doctorate over 20 years ago, and we created our own group, and we would meet once a month, maybe in Atlanta, maybe someplace that people could drive to for the weekend, where we could get together and commiserate, as it were. And also, we created some online spaces where we could just talk about things, but then work together virtually. And I'm just so shocked that there's not more of this. And maybe I think it's because once you go through it, you just kind of walk away from it and you don't need that anymore. So maybe that's why it goes away. But I'm just surprised because so many doctoral students, to your point, they need the support. And, just to talk about different things that maybe don't have to do with their specific topic, but it's good to have some support. So what are the most common writing or motivational challenges that you've observed with doctoral students these days?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest kind of challenges is just really that lack of community. That's been a huge piece. So the biggest thing for us is we like to offer a space where folks can come to write together, where folks can come to laugh and enjoy, and also share out, some of their highlights, share out some of their achievements. So I think a place where folks feel affirmed and folks feel like they're being seen. And then also a place where folks can come and just be unpacked with other doctoral students. And in particular, the majority of our doctoral students are also, Black doctoral students. So being in a space where they might see folks who look like themselves, and they're also coming from predominantly white institutes, the majority of students who are being represented. So you have Black and in particular Black and brown doctoral students who are coming together, and they see each other and they're able to affirm one another. I think that's a big thing of just being affirmed and being like, yo, you can do this. Or that transparency of being like, hey, I'm struggling with this. and it's like, you know what, I'm actually struggling with this as well. Well, let's connect and let's get together and let's really try to find some solution for this. So I think those components have been very important in us just really kind of identifying some of the like key challenges. And I think one of the things that's been really helpful is that consistency piece. So coming together twice a week, we meet twice a week for 3 hours, and folks have
Well, you know what?
committed to that
Do this
time.
because I totally got ahead of myself and I didn't let you
Oh, no
explain them
worries.
to us. Can you tell
Oh,
us about the model and then maybe tell us why it differs from traditional, boot camps or writing centers?
absolutely. So for us, our model is we meet every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. But folks are all over. I am based in Los Angeles, so I'm on Pacific time, so it's 4 to 7 p.m. for me. Um, but it's 3 hours. And basically how we usually set it up is we write for an hour, then we come and we share out, and then we write for another hour, we come and share out, and then we'll finish up for that last bit of time. And over time, we've started to have guest speakers. So we'll have folks who've already finished their doctoral degrees come in, and they'll really pour into us and really share insights. And it's an opportunity for folks to hear in real time the experiences and stories of folks who finished. And we'll cover a myriad of topics, such as there was a person who came in and they talked about navigating their own like health journey in a doctoral as they pursued their doctoral degree. There's somebody who came in and touched on things such as like, I'm a dissertation chair. This is what I expect, for my student. And there have been all types of folks who've kind of come in. I've taken a pivot from the academy and gone and worked in the industry. So we have these folks who come in and they'll touch on different topics, and we do that at least twice a month as well.
How can institutions, do you believe, how can they better support doctoral students, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds, as you mentioned, through the dissertation process? What could institutions be doing better?
I think one thing is just really kind of collaborating in coalition with, and not speaking on behalf of, without actually working with that targeted demographic. So sometimes in research, there might be folks who like study says this, study says that, but they might not necessarily be connected to the folks who they're trying to impact. So I think one, really centering the voices of students who are coming from these different areas or who might not be as represented in higher education, and really being able to put a lens and be like, okay, what are some things that you would like to see? Because if you got into a doctoral, if you got into that point up to the degree of earning your doctorate, and then more than likely you will have some very key perspectives about certain things and different ways to help support, but not in a way that's laborious of like adding extra weight, but in a way that can really be beneficial to be like, hey, I'm thinking about X, Y, Z. And it's like, okay, we're going to implement that from a structural standpoint. So really being an active collaborator and centering the voice of these graduate students, I think would be the biggest benefit.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense because completion rates are important. And that brings me to my next question, which is, in what ways maybe have you seen writing accountability groups? Maybe even this one. I know it's a short time that you've been launched, but how do you think that your group and the groups that are similar impact doctoral completion rates?
If you're finding value in these conversations, consider supporting Elvin and Joe. As a supporter, you'll get early ad-free access, plus exclusive leadership-focused content. It's only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or even gift a subscription to a colleague at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Well, I think for us, one of the things that we really like to do, so I do more qualitative. Deja does a lot of the quant work. So I kind of qualify the numbers through personal anecdotal stories and some of the impact that we've had. So we have flyers and whatnot. But as of last week, we've had 22 folks defend their dissertations.
Awesome.
We've reached 178 institutions. We've had 1,277 scholars express interest in joining the group. And then our weekly average attendance every Tuesday and Thursday has been 39 folks. And I just mentioned those few numbers to say that with some of the folks who joined, there have been some stories of folks saying, if it wasn't for this group, I wouldn't have finished. And they acknowledged us which for me has been a tremendous honor and something that I wasn't expecting, but even acknowledged us in, their dissertation acknowledgement. There have been quite a few number of folks who've been like, if it wasn't for this group, I wouldn't have made it. Just because you have folks coming in, there were some folks who were at the tail end, but just needed that extra motivation and that extra push. And then there were some folks who were really just kind of figuring it out and being like, hey, I don't necessarily know what to do. And like I said, we've only been here a year and a half at this point, starting January of last year. But the impact that I've already seen has been honestly mind-blowing. And just the amount of folks who've really wanted to, come and join this space just because they know that we're going to continually and consistently show up. And it's a genuine supportive love. Like, we don't gain anything from this other than just really trying to pay it forward and being the change that we want to see. And that's kind of the model that Deja and I run on.
I love that. Do you see a connection, since we are talking about retention and, getting to that last point and people feeling like, oh, I don't have enough steam to finish, but do you see a connection between writing support and maybe broader issues of retention and maybe student mental health?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think especially during this time, I think it's very important to just address what's going on in higher education and how higher education is under attack right now. So I mentioned that to say, when we started our writing sessions in January, before we were averaging attendance probably about like, it was about like a solid like 18 to 20 folks who would consistently come. But as I said, like starting in January of this year, and we just finished our writing sessions this past Thursday, we're averaging over 39 folks. But it usually we get about 50 folks who were joining, because I think there was just this acceleration of folks wanting to be done. Folks wanted to like get done with their degree. And I know that this space was a place where folks felt comfortable because we really prioritize and we really prioritize celebrating and supporting students in the space because of that challenge, not only prior to this administration and attacks on higher education and folks losing their funding and grants to help support them in their own doctoral journeys, but even prior to this, of just like the rigors of like trying to get through chapter 2. One of the things we always talk about is just chapter 2 and the literature review and how tough that can be, and how much time can be spent there. So just those milestones that folks make, and really for folks, we have folks who are also online. So that lack of community in that way. So this has been a community for folks who've only been online within their doctoral degree. And like I said, we've represented 178 institutions thus far and counting. And one of the things that we've really seen is just that community piece. Like, people really want to be able to pour in to one another and be able to share, what they're working on, and feel like there are folks who can hold them accountable, because that accountability piece has been important.
The piece that I like is when you talk about the sessions that you have, because sometimes if you're left on your own, you don't make progress. You plan to work on it and you don't get to. And someone told me this trick to use this egg timer and to set it up for 45 minutes and to work for 45 minutes. Don't answer the phone. Don't do this. Don't check email. Don't be distracted. Then when that 45 minutes was up, I could do whatever for 15 minutes and try to get in another one. This kept me productive, and I got at least those 3 45-minute sessions out of a session for a day. Without that, I think you can make the best plans, but oftentimes, life comes up, and I think the way that your model addresses these things is awesome, because then you get to come back, talk to others about where you might be stuck in these other areas. So I commend you all for the work that you're doing. So tell me, I have a couple other questions, but what's next for the Doctoral Student Writing Collective? Are you expanding services or engaging institutions directly?
Absolutely. So we're going to continue to engage institutions directly, and we've been traveling a little bit. So the last week we held a dinner at our largest conference in education, American Educational Research Association. So we held a dinner in Denver about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago. And we were able to get 30 folks out in attendance for that, to really come in and hang out. And then we also were able to share our research at 2 conferences in March, NASPA in New Orleans. And then we also shared our research, Deja and I, at American Association for Blacks in Higher Education conference in DC. And that was at the end of March. So we plan to continue to share our information and share some of our work with these different, organizations, larger organizations in education. And we definitely plan on expanding as well, and just building out different opportunities to continue to support students who are navigating their own doctoral journey. So we definitely see expansion in our future.
How can faculty chairs or deans get involved or refer students to the collective?
Absolutely. So we're on Instagram at DSWC, and then it's collective. So we're on Instagram there, and then we also post on LinkedIn a lot. So Deja and I are both on LinkedIn, and we share a lot of our information on there as well. So the best ways to access us right now is through our LinkedIn's, our personal LinkedIn's, Deja and I's, and also our Instagram. And then we also have a Gmail, so you can reach us that way. Is dswcollective@gmail.com. So if folks want to reach out, especially faculty members, the biggest thing would just be, referencing, because that's what we've been able to do. We've really spread this by word of mouth. Faculty members have been like, hey, I think my students might need this, and they've shared it with their students, and then their students would join, and then they'll share it with their peers. And that's how we've continued to grow. It's really been through that word of mouth piece.
Now, is there a cap on membership? What's required to join?
No, there is not a cap on membership. We plan to continue to grow, because thankfully, in the past year, we've been able to also build community of folks who are present as well. So we've been able to sustain ourselves in that growth, and we also plan to sustain ourselves once we finish, because as I mentioned, Deja graduates this upcoming week, and I'll be finishing up later in the fall. But we'll still continue to be here, because that succession plan is really important, and we want to see this continue to go and not leave when we enter our next ventures.
I appreciate that. This is such important work, and I'm so glad to see you and Deja committed at this early stage in your academic careers. And I'm glad that you gave us all of the information so people know how to find you and reach out to you. But if there's one last thing you could leave with our audience, what would you want them to know about the Doctoral Student Writing Collective?
I would want them to know that the Doctoral Student Writing Collective is a place for folks to really come together, build community, feel that support, feel that genuine and authentic support. And it's a place where folks are going to celebrate you. So I know, and sometimes doc programs, it can be on to the next task, on to the next task. And while we do that, we also stop and we pause and we reflect, and we take time to celebrate all of our members. So if you want to come to a place where you feel celebrated, if you want to come to a place where you feel supported, then this is definitely the place for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your time today. Audience, you've just been EdUp, and Tim Hurd has been here telling us how he has co-created a safe and empowering space for doctoral candidates to overcome writing barriers, maintain accountability, and ultimately reach the finish line. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us today. We truly appreciate having you here on the EdUp Experience.
My pleasure. Thank you. This has been a great experience.
And for those of you out there who want to know more about higher education topics, go to where you find podcasts and type in the EdUp Experience, and guess what you're going to get? A whole list, a cornucopia, if you will, of podcasts related to higher education, including yours truly, EdUp Accreditation Insights, but we talk about anything and everything related to accreditation. But my podcast peers and brothers and sisters on the network also cover everything from technology to law to, I just can't even go on because I'm not going to be able to stop. But thank you for joining us again, audience. And again, Tim, and we look forward to having you all back again soon.
Stay ahead of the conversation in higher ed. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe. $5.99 per month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.